Less Than Expert has partnered with Cozy Earth so we can offer you 21% off on luxurious bamboo bedding and pajamas loved by everyone from Oprah to Kris Jenner to Katie and myself and countless other customers. Enjoy this exclusive discount. Enter LTE at CozyEarth.com. Introducing Copper North. Copper North offers 100% silk, copper infused pillowcases. Copper is a natural antibacterial and collagen boosting ingredient. It's going to help soften fine lines, reduce inflammation and breakouts, and help maximize your skincare routine overnight. Visit coppernorth.com and enter LTE at checkout for your 15% off.
We have found a fantastic skincare brand called Love Indus, and they sell Botox in a tube. And I can attest, I've been using it for a couple of weeks and I am actually seeing results from it. So I like it. Maybe we'll do some fun before and after photos on our Instagram. They're giving us 21% off, and that's loveindus.com. Enter promo code LTE at checkout. Tona Activewear. I love the pant. They're all I want to reach for. Everybody talks about buttery soft. These things are buttery soft. They also stay put. But that's what I was going to say. They stay put. And that's really important. And when you do the squat test, they're not sheer. They feel luxurious. They feel thicker, but they're not. They're thin. They're light. They wear really well. And I've been wearing them every week. Oh, yeah. Also, y'all, my butt looks good in them. It does. I have to say, toot toot, I'm going to toot my own horn. We can offer our listeners 16% off with the promo code LTE at checkout. So for our listeners, go to tonaactive.com and enter LTE at checkout.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Less Than Expert. This is Katie, and
I'm Amanda.
we've been doing a series on layoffs, and we are super excited to be talking to a financial expert about some ways to help you through scenarios like this.
And we've got a bonus episode. We didn't know we were going to be introduced to Tina. Shout out to our friend Linda who introduced us. We're thrilled to meet with you and hopefully get some advice that we can give to our listeners on how to financially fortify themselves, maybe before or after a layoff.
So I want to introduce Tina Hoang. If you want to take it away, Tina.
Hey guys, my name is Tina Hoang. I'm here in Dallas, Texas, and I'm here to help today. Any of your questions you guys have?
Tina has been with Northwestern Mutual working with, I think, a couple of GST&Mers over the years. Tina, how long have you been with Northwestern Mutual?
I have been an advisor for over a decade.
We have been seeing layoffs happen pretty much every month. And in the last episode, we went over a couple of big names like Oracle, Amazon, Rivian, who have been doing mass layoffs. There seems to be a lot of restructuring going on. So a lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are scared. And we thought this was a really good time to be doing a layoff series and doing some research on how to prepare for one.
And first, I think we'd like to just jump into the basics with you. Basic fundamentals that people should be doing financially, just in general in life, like not actually preparing to be laid off, but just to prepare yourselves in general.
Yeah, that's where we probably stress the most as an advisor is just preparing for the best, but planning for the worst in the event of that nobody ever thinks is going to happen to you, whether it's you pass away, you get ill or hurt and you can't do your job, whether you get laid off from your job for a little bit of time or a long time, or there's a health consequence in the family where it takes you away from your job. We do. We do prompt planning for those things in the event of. So you really want to look into those things and kind of go through an analysis of, how much would this financially affect me if this happened rather than is it important to me right now? Because obviously it's not important to you right now because it's not happening to you right now. But when it happens, it's super important, right? And then at that time, likely it's too late. Or you can't qualify for certain things at that time. To where again, we would preface to, plan in the future for all the what ifs and consider the impact of it to you rather than how much does it cost me and stuff like that, because it's going to cost you by waiting.
And how do people do that? What should they set up? Or is this as simple as having a savings or setting up a 401k, all that good stuff?
So in the event of gearing toward the loss of a job, I think that getting a hold of, hey, how much does it cost you guys to operate on a regular basis of essential expenses and discretionary expenses. So you really want to know that from a high level view and what things you can go without if needed. At the same time, you want to be really aware of what's your benefits package, if it's a disability that's going on, or understanding your 401k, what are the ins and outs of borrowing against if needed while at work, and if you leave, if it's still an option for you, as well as talking to your spouse, hey, what's the safe zone for us? Like, is it 3 months? Is
Mhm.
it 6 months? Or talk about if you lose your job, can the other spouse take over a little bit more, or maybe go into the workforce if they were the one that was staying home. Maybe it's easier for that person to get a role. It's really like helpful to talk through what are essential expenses and discretionary expenses and what are our game plans. Talk through what are your fears. And when you talk about what your fears are, that helps the advisor. So it could be your fear is job loss for extended period of time. It could
Mhm.
be, what if the income earning spouse passes away? What if you have to take your mom to home health care and it's expensive? Those are the things that helps your advisor prompt for ideas and help plan for you based on some of those fears.
That makes sense. Do you have clients coming to you panicked about getting a layoff? Are they finding you after a layoff? Or are you helping them, hopefully helping them get out ahead of it, and they're already established with you? But how do you typically see that working? And does it make sense for someone, if they've just been laid off, to reach out to a financial advisor?
So yes to all those questions. I have had clients think about what if they get laid off, and we talk through that, what should be on hand, and what's their safe zone. And then I have chatted with clients recently that have lost job, and it does depend
Mhm.
on obviously their age, their profession, their field of work, and if they're in a dual income situation with their spouse and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So they do come to me then, and lots of time come to me just as like a what do I do now strategy. Like if they got laid off yesterday, even right now, I have someone knowing that the layoff is coming actually, because they
Mhm.
have layoffs. So they're actually talked to me in December and then January, and then know it's coming in May, and then they're going to get severance package. So you can even pre-plan it because just seeing the pattern, and he was
Mhm.
told by his firm that he is going to get laid off. So that's always nice when the firm gives you
Mhm.
that, and it's nice if you get a severance package as well. So we did talk through the preceding months there as well.
Yeah, that's
How do you
great.
help them? Like, when they come to you, how do you help them make rational decisions? Because, I mean, a lot of times it's a freak out mode. How do you calm
Mhm.
them down? How do you help them?
The first thing that's going to help you calm down is just coming to a third party, right? Coming to not you,
Mhm.
your spouse, or your family members. It's really just someone else seeing it from a rational position, logical position, and you're in the thick of your emotions. So, one, releasing that energy by voicing it to someone else is always helpful. I'll just reassure them, hey, this is one of the things we planned for, right? And then I think through creative strategies on what they have on the table based on their assets, as well as their positive traits. That person was 20 years at X firm. And so they have loyalty on their side. They have expert knowledge because maybe their
Mhm.
fear is, I'm going to get replaced by two younger people that are cheaper. But at the end of the day, knowledge and experience is very valuable. And so sometimes I'm also hyping them up because I don't think you should go into your interviews or your resumes or those phone calls when people are reaching out to you with the lack mentality, like I just got let go. No, you
Mhm.
want to see this is my opportunity to be somewhere great, to serve a firm that I love more kind of thing. Like really have
Mhm.
that going into. So it's a lot of psychological coaching as well as the emotional, and then the numerical piece is more, what are the assets on the table? How can we utilize these financial tools and get over what the name of them are? So how can you borrow against your 401k? How can you do a HELOC, which is borrowing against your house asset? Or should you have done that preceding because now you can't qualify with your
Mhm.
income rate. So that's why we do
Right.
things prior to plan. It could be things like maybe a zero balance transfer, or zero balance credit card just for the temporary. They're freaking out. It
Mhm.
could be leveraging against some of those asset accounts. It could be leveraging against your life insurance policy. It could be a number of things. Just they're kind of like what ifs to what ifs. So it's almost like your emergency savings, or your savings is like your accessible savings for maybe tires, unexpected thing like that. But then there's still liquid cash that is emergency to emergency. And then there's like
Mhm.
parachute. Like we keep
Yeah.
going down the rails because we also have to share what are the consequences of digging into those things. For example, if you borrowed against your 401k, maybe you're doing it at prime rate, but it's not a credit
Mhm.
check. But what if you leave that firm? Because sometimes layoffs, people come back also.
Right.
But if you leave and move it, then it's a tax consequence if you didn't pay it back. So I
Yeah.
do talk about each vehicle, the consequences, and then the client does have to decide, hey, what's ultimately best. I can say based on the scenario, based on me knowing you, this is what I think might be best. Ultimately, they decide.
What mistakes do you see people making typically after a layoff?
Freaking out, like you said, and just pulling out their 401k money, and I'm like, "Whoa, you just took a 40% hit when you didn't need to and a 10% back so you didn't have to." So I
Yeah.
have a client over the age of 55. You can actually take in-service distributions from your 401k. This is a different situation. They're retiring,
Yeah.
but they're 55, and you can take in-service distributions from your 401k versus if you were to roll it over and then distribute
Mhm.
from that.
What is an in-service distribution?
It means you're less than 59 and a half because some of those retirement accounts have a 59 and a half age
Ah,
to pull from, but at 55, you can pull early. You still have to pay the tax consequence if it's a taxable account, but
but
you
no
don't have to pay
penalty?
the 10% penalty, yeah, for early.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
reduced.
A big mistake I think people make sometimes is getting in their emotions and then like thinking, oh, they got let go of the job, so they need to cash out their 401k. That's not always the best decision to do right away. Or they think, oh, I got a new job, so I got to roll it over. Like it's their only choice. It's not their only choice. So I would say before you touch any of your accounts, chat.
Let's take a quick ad break so we can tell you about some of our fantastic ad partners that we have on the podcast. We have partnered with Aquila Sunglasses and Eyewear for 10% off of our listeners. So I will be checking that out. Have you checked out their site?
I have looked at their site. They've got lots of cute styles.
Very cute. It feels very LA, very on trend, nice styles, nice
Yeah.
options. I feel like I could be, like Hailey Bieber. Cute. I could never. I'm here for it though. Yeah, so for our listeners, Aquila Sunglasses, 10% off on their website, aquila.la, using the promo code LTE at checkout. I have been trying to find the ultimate matcha brand in the ultimate matcha coffee shop in Austin. I think I may have found a really good online option for us with Mantra Matcha. So this is premium Japanese matcha. The site is adorable. They have great products, accessories, and different matcha blends. And you can get 15% off using the promo code LTE at mantramatcha.com. Enter discount code LTE for your 15% off. We found a fantastic sports bra company called Handful. Get it? We love their sports bras. I am very particular. I know you are too.
I am. Yes.
Yeah, we need something that has good support, but it's not going to suffocate you. It's not going to make you feel nauseous from having something too tight. Handful has a really great mission. They started their company to help women after reconstructive breast surgery. And they have these patented inserts that are cooling. They help shape and lift your chest. The bra itself that I got is the cute little mesh front
It is
zip
really
one.
cute.
It's so cute and it's very comfortable, but it supports me. So if I'm going for a run, I feel like I'm not going to get back pain from that. So handful.com, enter the promo code LTE and get 30% off at checkout.
I would say before you touch any of your accounts, chat with someone.
Yeah, that's a good call out, especially with the 401k of like, what do you do with it? Do you roll it over? Do you roll it into a Roth, depending on what the 401k account is and how much
Very
money?
good.
I,
Very good. If pre-tax
um,
dollars have to go pre-tax dollars, post-tax dollars have to go post-tax
we're
dollars.
learning.
I
We're
love
learning on this
that.
podcast.
Yes.
Do you think people should negotiate their severance?
I mean, what's the harm? You're gonna get
Yeah,
the original offer.
right. Like they could say no. Right. Don't you think that's the worst?
No is the harm, I feel like. No is the only harm. They can tell you no,
Yeah.
or they might give you more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a fine line. Or you're one of those people asking too much, you know what I mean? So sometimes you don't know behind the scenes that that person fought for you.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're like, oh, really? So just, I think that's a fine line.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And everyone's so nuanced. Everyone has their own circumstance. Like you said, they're in a dual income, they're single, trying to figure it out. Maybe they have debt. What would you tell someone aside from fortifying cash? Is there anything else that someone should be doing? Because for our example, Katie and I could get laid off this year. So what would you tell us would be maybe the top two things to consider aside from knowing your number, building up some cash runway?
Yeah, that's probably more on the what you can do on your strengths side. So it could be networking a lot more, fluffing your resume up from a standpoint of skill sets. And I think some people are like I have a client right now. He did get laid off from a pretty big company. It was Target. But at the same time, he's 62, right? So it's a age that's makes sense that if he wanted to retire, he could. But they never chatted with an advisor the whole life. So I think he just thought he would work until 70. I think we all
Right.
do
Yeah.
think that, right? When I do planning with clients, they all say that, right? But sometimes you're
Mhm.
forced to retire. But going back to your question would be networking a lot, finding your skill sets that you really are skilled at. And sometimes it's asking someone else what they are,
Mhm.
what they think you're good at, because sometimes you don't see it in yourself. And I
Mhm.
do think also like with this individual, they are very much like, this is the role that I did here. And I'm like, but these skill sets resonate in different industries. That doesn't
Mhm.
mean stay in that industry. So I
Yeah.
think just expanding that horizon, you're just being more open-minded. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
even if you get that interview, you're practicing interviewing, right?
Just listening to you talk, it almost sounds like you're playing part therapist, you're playing almost career
Career
coach because
coach. Yeah.
yeah, like you're able to you know that you develop that relationship, you recognize their skills, and so are people coming to you for that to help them think through like, okay, this is because they panic, they might take a low ball offer somewhere else, but maybe you're that voice of calm for them that says, no, this is really the number you need to be making, and this is the value of that role. Like, do you find yourself having those conversations as well with clients?
100% time. I do think it's the probably a bigger part of enjoying my job, because I do think
Mhm.
the number part's a little bit easier. That actually happened. What you're saying right now happened to someone in the liquor industry. And he put his resume out to like 200 and something people. He was like, I'm just going to take the first one I can get. Although he's only been out of work for maybe 2 weeks, but
Okay.
Yeah.
spouse is a teacher, so there's not as much income on that side, but still, it's just freak out mode hardcore because of all the
Oh, yeah.
layoffs, and so he's trying to not go for too long, right?
Mhm.
Um, he told me, he's like, I'm gonna take what I can get, just like the first one. And I go, well, you really want to also think of it as a practice and knowing what they're gonna offer. Still go on those interviews with those other ones, because you never know, they may offer more, even if you want to take the first job just because. But you also want to think about, is this company aligned with your values? Is it the
Right.
lifestyle that you're valuing? Because what if you just quit 3 months later, then you're like going stuck again. So
Yeah.
sometimes picking whatever you can get is not always good, as well as sometimes you may get the comp you want, from a standpoint of it's maybe similar to your previous comp, but maybe they don't have benefits. So that's
Mhm.
where you really want to comp out or price out. If you got benefits and you had a matching and you had, paid time off, well, that number may equate to more, even though the
Right.
salary is high. So really thinking about all those other things. And if you're single and don't have kids, makes sense, right? Or if you're just wanting a
Right.
salary job, makes sense because your spouse has health insurance or whatever. But I would consider all those things. So I do help
Yeah.
through too.
I love that. Yeah, and thinking through the whole package because that sometimes is hard, even though you get an offer letter and they're telling you, "These are your benefits, this is your healthcare." Sometimes you just need a third party and a financial expert to sit down and say, like, "This is the real value of that, of your healthcare plan. They're covering this, whereas normally in your last job, you were paying $900 a paycheck or whatever it was. This is really a raise for you." And I think that's so important to have someone who can help you understand your true number. Do you really need to be making that? Or you should be making more because I have other clients who have this skill set and they're making more, right? Like, I think having that and having someone to help coach you through it is just incredibly valuable to kind of push you to the next level. And there's a part of me that wonders, I know the job market's bad. Katie and I have talked about this on the podcast too. Like going
Yeah.
going on LinkedIn is a terrible, terrible place to be. It's kind of like the graveyard. But is the job market really that bad? It's changed drastically. And so understanding your strengths and your skill sets and applying it to different industries, there are jobs out there. There are other areas of opportunity. And having someone to help shift that perspective to look at a different role that you might never have thought of applying to would be so helpful, and different from your spouse or a friend to have a professional who's like, "No, what about this?" I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Did you know that when you decided to do this, did you know that essentially being a career coach for some of your clients was gonna be part of your role? It just seems crazy to me, but then also I get they go hand in hand. But
Yeah.
yeah, it seems crazy to me that you're kind of that person.
Yeah, what's so funny is before this, I did personal training for 10 years. And so it was the same thing. I was basically like a counselor then,
Yeah.
and this was just the modality on how they came to me. And then obviously they looked better and their weight was better. I'm essentially keeping them accountable fiscally instead of physically.
Yes.
And the difference is I honestly think that it makes my job just that much more enjoyable,
Sure.
because I feel like I really know my clients. So kind of going back to your question on when clients will just take a job just because it's almost like dating, right? So it's almost like, oh, finally this guy who has these two things, but maybe it's this one boundary. You're yellow lighting on it, but you just go ahead and take it just because. It's the
Mhm.
same thing when they're thinking about they want to take this offer to this job, but I know and I remember them saying it's too far. I'm not going to be able to take certain days off for my kid or something like that, where I will remind them, hey, you remember you said this. Are you willing to forgo that because of this? So I kind of just keep them in check on like, this is what
Yeah.
you said.
I love it. Wait, and
No
let's talk.
desperation, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and, like, help them remember who they really are and to be their best selves. When you think of a financial advisor, you don't think of that. You don't think of
No.
career coach, life coach. Can we talk about how you got into this? And obviously, you've been doing this for over a decade. You like it, like, how did you fall into this field? And talk to us about why you're different than maybe a wealth advisor or another finance role.
Yeah, they're somewhat all synonyms to the same scenario. It just depends on some licenses in the back end or how you want to market yourself. I definitely have always had a knack for finances. So I was lucky that my mom was a bank teller growing up, so money was a very normal thing. I was balancing my checkbook when I was like 7.
Oh my god,
Um,
that's so good.
yeah,
That's great.
and
Yeah.
so it wasn't a hard topic that way for me, but I think it was in college where my career survey had said, did you guys ever take the Myers-Briggs?
I don't
Myers
know if I have.
I took
Yeah.
it in high school, and I don't think I liked the results, actually, but I can't remember what they were.
Well, supposedly your personality doesn't change over a long period of time. So I was in college, it was personal training to pay for school at the same time. And I had ended up like kind of staying there a little bit longer than I thought. I bought into the business and then I really enjoyed it. But when you get to your mid 20s, you're like, well, I need benefits and I need
Mhm.
to have a life on the weekend and nights. But I really enjoyed the people I was working with. I didn't love the schedule and I wanted growth in my compensation. So
Yeah.
just took, how could you stay in a job for 10 years? Well, there's things I liked about it. So I listed those out, right? So it was like being around certain people that really wanted to be helped and being that main character to them that they sought for advice. The second thing was I really enjoyed seeing the person's progress. Like it's kind of like everybody's my little babies and
Yeah.
their mindset changes and then they're just hold themselves more confidently and they're knowledgeable. I really love that. And I just really enjoyed being that important person to them. So basically, I took those features and I took the things I didn't like, which was schedule and compensation, right? So I just changed out those two things, and financial advisor basically was in that role and cross-referenced it with my culture index and my Myers-Briggs, and it was like perfect alignment. Because
That's
that culture,
awesome.
that Myers-Briggs tells you like how you operate and what
Yeah.
jobs you're really good at. And the other ones on there were private investigator. I'm like, well, that's
Oh.
what girlfriends are for, right? Like, hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
We do that
Everyone's a
naturally
PI, yeah.
anyway.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then real estate developer, to me, that was, I was thinking about lifestyle for my future, right? So that would be possibly more weekends, more nights, maybe not being as present as a mother, right? So that's how I came into my role. And I essentially just surveyed all my personal training clients, like, what do they know about certain firms? And I was offered the job by 6 different firms because I was in the later 20s. So it was more of like, where do I want to be and stay? And who would I want to serve if it was the other way around, like if I was my own
Mhm.
client, right? And they all said really great things about Northwestern Mutual. And so it was one of that feeling when you buy your first house, you're like, this is it. And
Right.
and it was like these are the people paying me a lot of money a month to personal train. They're not hurting, right? So it just
Right.
happened where I fell there. Yeah.
And so did you have to do the CFP? Like, what kind of, curriculum did you have to do? Because it's a lot to go into a financial field. I think
Yeah.
the certification is a little intense from what I understand.
There's a number of certifications you can take, so it really just depends on what your firm is asking you to take in the beginning. Like at our firm, we do take general lines, series 6, 6, 7, or 7, SIE. Those are the ones you take early on so you can get insurance and investment license because our firm is a little bit different where we do comprehensive planning. So we do defensive planning on the risk
Mhm.
side, insurance, and then we do offensive planning, which would be the wealth accumulation and investments, right? And then later on, when you're fully licensed, you can do fee-based planning where you're charging just for the advice on it. So it just depends. And you can always partner up with different advisors on your firm if you're lacking a license to still be able to serve your client from a standpoint of delivering, whatever they need. So I think the freedom is what I really enjoy about my firm and my job. This is the clients first and foremost.
I love that you can build out essentially a team for a client
Yeah.
if you need to pull in. I mean, when you work with a company as big as Northwestern Mutual, but that's fantastic that that's an option for your client. And so, if for anyone who's maybe nervous or afraid, what would you recommend for them to approach a financial advisor to make sure that there's good chemistry, question without doing just a Google search? Because I know we've talked about that of like
Yeah.
everyone will show up with their Google searched questions, but like how do you really get to a good relationship with a financial advisor and choose the right person?
I really think asking your friend group, because you're probably friends with people that are aligned in values, maybe have similar thought processes. I also wouldn't assume anything of anybody's financial situation, whether they're your friend and they make better money and their advisor may or may not see you. That's not always true, right?
Sure.
Um, because it really depends on the advisor themselves, lots of times, if they're willing to, or their firm may have a stipulation on that as well. But to me, it's like dating. Like, I would ask my friends to set me up, right? Because they're
Right.
pre-vet. So it's similar in that way. And then also do your own research as well, because some people market really well.
Mm.
Some people
Yeah.
don't, right? So I would go in probably like before I meet with that person, like, what am I really wanting? So
Mhm.
at the end of my first meeting, it's a two-way street for me. I just as much want to see if I want you as my client as well, because it's a
Sure.
long-term.
That
So
was my next question. Yeah.
yeah, my stipulations are integrity is number one. So at the end of the first meeting, after I've asked a lot of personal questions and what their goals are, I talk about, hey, integrity is number one. So I wouldn't make my recommendations unless we were honest and talk about everything. And so usually that first meeting is a lot of personal revealing questions that I can know if they were being honest and personal in there and vulnerable. The
Mhm.
second one is communication. And same thing, I can tell if there is because they may ask again a question or they may counter a question. So that always is a good sign. I want to give them the freedom to do that. I encourage them
Mhm.
asking. I encourage, there's no dumb question. I encourage to challenge it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I say is a second core value is communication. The third one is support. So as I support them and their goals along the way, I would love that in return by referring other great people to me. And so I do ask, hey, can you uphold these three things and characteristics? And I ask this after I ask them what their three characteristics are. They're looking an advisor because after they share their three things, I know I can do it, whatever they are. And when I
Mm.
can't, then I will say, hey, I'll refer you to someone else. I can't do that third one or whatever. And so it's a verbal contract on both sides, right? And after they agree to it, then I invite them back to a second meeting within 2 weeks because everything's fresh on our minds.
Wow.
That's how I operate. I am different than other advisors from the standpoint of not only is it mathematical, it is emotional, it's psychological
Yeah.
too. And I really group it all together in getting to know the client because my goal is to keep the client a long time,
Mhm.
grow organically that way rather than kind of like you're in and out numbers game.
For our audience too, I would also wanna ask you, is there a threshold when should someone seek out a financial advisor? Is there a certain, net worth that they should have or a certain point in their life where it's like, "Oh, I probably should have a professional." What feels appropriate? Or is it for anybody and everybody?
Yeah, it truly is like from being very an open advisor and knowing like when I was like a little baby 26-year-old like had money like that pretty little
Yeah.
it was a lot of money for me at that age, right?
Right.
I got to the point where like I didn't know what to do beyond my savings account or beyond my like Roth IRA, right? So I say at any moment that you feel like you need a little extra help and you don't necessarily want to chat with your family members because sometimes your family members are giving you advice from their perspective or from their time period because they grew up like 30
Yeah.
years ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Time.
different.
So it's really seeking an advisor that would possibly meet your threshold or understand your
Yeah.
trajectory and you're worth that investment. So like I'm talking to a baby doctor, well, yeah, they don't make a lot. It's like they're making $53,000 as a resident doctor, but I know the trajectory is strong, right?
Mhm.
Or someone who could be I had a client making 80 grand a year, but she saved $4,000 a month, right? So
Wow.
I
That's
am an
crazy.
advisor I don't judge. based
Right.
on finances. I do judge based on character, values, alignment. I'm not an order taker. I don't also tell them what to do either. It's very collaborative in the way I plan and the way we move forward, if we move forward, right? So anytime is a good time. You just got to find someone who's the right fit, right?
Mhm.
Some firms do require minimum. What was your third question again?
I think you already answered it. Is it for anyone and everyone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And are there any red flags? Like what should people look out for when they're trying to find the right advisor?
that one's hard because I think some people get red flags and they get red flags to them because maybe it wasn't all over social media. Maybe it wasn't spoken about
Sure.
as highly. Or maybe they Googled something and you have to understand that there's a lot of financial products and there are different names for certain financial products or there's street names that are not the legitimate names, right? But the common people call them that. So, man, that one's hard. Because I think some people get red flagged based on maybe they hadn't heard of it before. So maybe
Yeah.
they haven't heard of it because maybe none of your family members were of that income base to even get to that point, to even hear of that, right? So that's kind of from my experience of the
Yeah.
clients who do that. I would this is kind of where I want to say it's like just your gut feeling,
Yeah.
right?
And to that end, how once you're working with a financial advisor, does the financial advisor literally manage all the money? Or are they just reviewing what you have set up? How much visibility do you have into your finances once you're working with an advisor?
Yeah, so they could be all of the above. So in our world over here, like how I operate is I'm more high level in the beginning. And so it could be something where we partner up with our home office to help manage their advisory platform or their brokerage platform. Obviously, that's a little different, right? High level, I'm like, hey, you do this, but it's dependent on that brokerage firm. I'm not going in there and trading like all individual stocks there, right? Because
Yeah.
I probably have like 5 clients at that point. But I think majority of the time I am reviewing high level, hey, these are all these investment accounts and assets and how does
Mhm.
everything work together? And then
Mhm.
there are individual people that are it's like a team of like 27, like a bunch of people managing maybe that fund or that portfolio or that
Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys use tools or apps like so you have visibility into certain pieces of is there like
Yeah.
a Northwestern Mutual app where
Yeah.
they enter all their accounts and you just watch everything for
Yes.
them?
We do.
Okay.
We do that too. Even if we don't manage the account, even if they just have one product, I do encourage it because lots of times the advisor will still provide you a financial plan depending on the client. If one, if they're interested, and two, if it makes sense for that client. But I personally do for all of my clients because sometimes it's one of those features that's like, maybe I don't manage their 401k at work, but I still want it in the plan because it talks to all the other assets, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
401k talks to this IRA, talks to this individual. Like, so that way it helps us give better recommendations to, hey, you need to put more here, or hey, you're actually on track for your retirement if you want to like live a little bit more. Um,
That would
so I
be a
think
dream.
I know.
it happens. I've done it for a client.
Oh,
Um,
hats off
yeah,
to them. That sounds amazing.
yeah, so I think it's helpful to enter it all in and be very very open to your advisor. And not always are they trying to take it, right? But
Right.
over time, I'm not gonna lie, over time, the client tends to see, oh wow, Tina can do and does a lot for me, and I'm getting a lot more value here than just my stock trader over there, right?
Mhm.
So I will say lots of times people do eventually integrate to our team. Yeah.
How often are they talking to you? How often do you talk to your clients?
It's a need basis, like, if you wanted to call me, like, today or, you lost your job or you just I mean, I've had people call me on, "Should I take this career jump?" Because they like their
Yeah.
job, they're not getting fired, they just got another opportunity, and, like, I had a client who it's in their personal values and their work, they know it's very strenuous, so in their minds, like, they're gonna make the jump just for 5 years.
Mhm.
So I stress test the financial situation. Hey, if you just take this jump for 5 years and then you go back to like a general counsel, let's say an attorney, like a general counsel job, like can you still, can your financial plan stop early because you're making that 5 year substantial increase, right? For some time period. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So sometimes just chatting about what are the what ifs, like, or if a client's like, hey, I want to have a baby in 3 years, like,
Yeah.
can I take 3 years off? You can always ask those questions. And most of the time, at least for me, I'm always open to like running those scenarios to make my clients feel heard and
Mhm.
um, kind of release their fears a little bit. Obviously I can't guarantee anything 100%, and maybe the baby pops out sooner, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they still have some peace of mind that there's never a bad question. There's never a wrong time to ask something because pre-asking is always better than like, "Oh, hey Tina, now what do I do?" And I'm like, "Man."
Yeah. I mean, that's why we wanted to do some digging on, how to financially set yourself up ahead of a layoff for that same reason. What can we do? Like I had a coworker stop me the other day because she's been listening to our podcast. She was like, "Well, I don't have my 401k set up or a Roth IRA." I was like, "Let's talk about that."
Everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I think I love that the podcast is bringing that up for people in our lives so that we can have the conversation and direct them to you, Tina, right? Like, because I think we need help. We need an understanding of how to best set ourselves up. And, you hear all the rumors on AI is going to kill the finance industry. And I think there's a lot of fear out there. And so our goal with this podcast is to have conversations that we know friends and family, coworkers are having, and to maybe provide some information of value to help them with those conversations too. Because Katie and I are just as lost in the sauce as everyone
And
else.
I'm terrified. My situation is I'm a single mom. I don't know. I'm not in perfect position financially, obviously, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I want to know how to maximize what I've got so that if something happens, if I get laid off, if and when,
Yeah.
I know that
That's
I'm going to be
even more
okay.
reason though, right? To maximize the situation, like every penny counts. And I don't ever think there's a bad time or never too early time to reach out. Because even when I have a super young client reach out, it's like maybe they don't have a ton, but I'm like, I'm so impressed at their age that they are willing to put away maybe that's $100 and they're like 19 years old. But just you have to think about like proportionally, that's a lot for a 19-year-old, right? So
Mm,
if you project this out in the future and they're planning this early, it's like their values and their mindset is in the right place. And like kind of what you said, Katie, like I want to maximize situation. Like, how do I make the best of the situation and maximize it now? Because, I don't necessarily want to be working harder if I don't have to, right? Just to be more efficient. And that's where your advisor can come in and just share with you, like, here's some efficiencies rather than being always scared and putting it off and putting it off. And that's just being human, being in our
mm.
ego, or just fearing that it might cost too much. Just put all those questions out on the table. Like you can say, "Hey, I've never shot an advisor before." You can be very open and honest with that person, and they should, kind of guide you through that. And then again, if they turn you away, it's not a big deal. It's like that's just closer to maybe someone who's better, more aligned for you.
On to the next.
Have you ever told someone that they need to stop spending so much money on Amazon? Like, do you get that granular? Do you get that granular and like, girl, you need to stop. You've got a problem.
I have gotten situations where yes. Okay, the recent situation was she is a single mother and she was saving to something on a regular basis that's kind of forced. Actually, there's two people. The exact same recent situation. And then they're like, "Well, I just want to cancel it." And so I was like, "Hey, we've worked together for this many years now, and this is the only thing that you is a forced savings for you and it's working, right? Because this has gotten you out of trouble to borrow against it like 4 times. So I
Yeah.
get where you're coming from. Financially, it's actually costing you less than 3%, and you're not gonna go get a loan or a credit card better than that. So as much as you're emotionally right now wanna cancel it, this forced savings account has saved your butt 4 different times. Like, it doesn't bother me if you can't, but it's more just protecting them from them. Like, my huge
Mm.
tagline that if you ever talk to any of my clients that were in a troublesome situation at any point, when planning with me, they will say, "Oh, Tina, you said I'm gonna save you from you." Like they always like quote, "Hey, I'm gonna save you from you."
We need that.
Yeah.
We do. I mean, especially in a time of panic, and I think everyone's cortisol is just spiking right now with what's going on in the world. And are we making rational decisions? Maybe, but maybe not. I think we need a little help. I need help.
Well,
Right?
I'm a little bit biased too. I think female advisors, I do think differently, right? So I
Mhm.
think I do a little bit more than the other advisors. One being female also. is if you think about yourself as a woman and a mom and you are awesome at your jobs, you guys think about everything all the time, right? Do you
Mhm.
not think,
Yeah.
oh, I have to arrange my work to then pick up my kid, to then
Yes.
do this, and then right? And then the weekend
Yes.
schedule, and you probably know your husband's schedule, or you also know your other
Yeah.
child's schedule, right? As a woman, I really think all the way around.
Right.
Past, present, future, other people in your life too that you're maybe trying to plan for your grandson. I think about all of it. And so I do think as a woman planner, I do think really comprehensively, where there may be other planners where it's this is what gets them paid and that's what they're going to have you focus on and this is what we're going to do and take action in next, right? Again, I'm not trying to type, certain advisors, but you really want to just get to know your advisor on a higher level or get a reference.
Yeah, and I think have someone who's like you who's gonna not
Uh-huh.
you're not gonna talk about derivatives. You're not gonna use words that my eyes will glaze over and I feel like I'm being talked down to. Or I've also
Mhm.
had people I run the finances in my family, but sometimes men only want to talk to my husband. And he just turns back to me and he's like, what do you want to do about that?" Right? And I just get so
Love that your husband
annoyed.
appreciates
He does. I married top of the food chain. But yeah, he will contribute and then he lets me kind of run the show. We have a quarterly meeting. We go through our finances so that we know where things are. But yeah, we've talked to people that we maybe want to go do a business deal with or something and they want to talk to him. And I just find that so offensive. Like I'm not going to do business or I'm not going to hire that person if they can't talk to both of us. It just
So I
Well, it's
actually
also just disrespectful too.
yeah.
it is. It is disrespectful. I also asked that question at the beginning. So I might chat with like maybe it's a young female. This is recently. She's a young female, she's 20 late, right? And she has had a financial situation that was good for her, provided for her growing up. And I because she said that and she referenced her dad that's a CPA lots of times. I did say, hey, I would love for him to join. Is there any other decision makers that would be helpful to have this meeting? I do like them from the beginning to the end, beginning for at least first 3 meetings, right?
Yeah.
Uh, or if it's or if it's a different culture, sometimes they'll ask their father
Sure.
I always invite them at the beginning, or if it's a spouse, same thing. I always will invite the spouse or the decision makers in the picture. And even if the spouse isn't on the call, but we're executing on something, I will call the spouse separately. For example, I've had it happen where the husband's executing something, but it's for the wife, right? I will call the wife and I will track
Yeah.
her down. I will track her down and I'm like, hey,
Great.
your husband loves you. I want to inform you this is what's going on. Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes they're like, oh, my husband knows it. Blah, blah, blah. But I still, from
Sure.
a compliance perspective, I really want to still share with them nuggets and pieces because every year we do a review, they like caught that little nugget, right? And then they caught it.
Mm.
And so then they will feel more attached to the financial situation and the financial picture. And
Yeah.
eventually they will feel like, oh man, Tina respected me the whole time.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
Well, and you're safe. That makes you, I don't know, a
Yes.
safe human for both parties, not just
Yeah.
one, because it can feel very one-sided, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
If they part, it's the same thing. I treat each person separately. It's confidential from each. So it just depends. Like I
Yeah.
have a fiduciary responsibility for each individual client as well. So yeah.
Ugh, I love that so much. And it makes you want to participate more. Because I think once you start to understand money and you can watch your money grow and you feel more secure, it does become really fun. But if it feels overwhelming and someone's talking down to you, or it's just, it's meant to be confusing. The financial industry is meant
Oh,
to be, yeah,
yes.
right. But once you get it, I don't know, it's like a game. Like how, how much
Yeah,
can
it is. Yeah, you can kind of. So I definitely meet my clients where they are. So if it's someone in the dental space, I'll use dental terms. If someone in the fitness space, I'll use fitness terms. And then when we get to implementation, I'll use like, hey, for compliance purposes, I need to walk through these or this, and this is this, right? But that part, some people may shut their ears off, but I don't try to use big words and things that they don't know. But then
yeah.
some clients, I do ask at the beginning, what would you rather learn? Are and then I will use certain terminology on purpose, or I'll say, hey, this is the street name for it, but this is what's really called. Like, And I'll often say, hey, lots of people confuse an after tax contribution at work as the Roth. Well, it's not, it's an additional after tax, right?
Right.
So, and I'll say, hey, the street name for that is a mega backdoor Roth. So I'll share with them what it's really called and then what it may be called from a commonality standpoint. Yeah.
I think that's great. We need more Tinas in the world.
I know.
I need more people to do the fun things and then to do the work. Yeah, that'd be great to have
You
three.
do a lot of things. I'm learning
Yeah.
that financial planner does a lot. Like you're a teacher, you're a therapist, you're a career coach, you're a lot of things.
I
No, I
mean,
like
I
that.
I feel like I do operate differently, but I am very proud of the staying power of my clients, though.
Yeah.
I don't have nearly as much turnover as other advisors, and I think that's part of it. It's just because I really am invested in them. Even if they're like personal things, like I'll go to their baby shower. It's to me so fun because you know what? I remember we talked about when they're gonna have a baby. I
Yeah.
literally the other day, I had a friend, she had got a bad divorce. She was a great earner. And I remember her crying, talking about, hey, I want a perfect little family, right? She has 2 kids, 2 golden retrievers, like
Oh my
she's
God.
married. And I know her husband, he was a separate client before. He's like, so they're
It's
actually
awesome.
2 separate clients. And so we just kind of run all in the same circle. I'm like, oh my God, you two are the best people for each other. Like, seriously, it's so
Oh,
cute. So
Love
even
that.
if I didn't necessarily gain, but I'm gaining emotional bank account, if that makes any sense. It's
Yeah.
feel good.
well, yeah,
Are
you could be
you
proud of what, I don't know, you've helped create or help people create.
Mhm.
and the matchmaking you're doing on the side. I just think I
That
Yep,
just
yep.
happened to be we ran in the same industries and circles, and it's just more of like I know both people behind the scenes because, finances is very, vulnerable. It's probably just as vulnerable as your weight is or childhood stuff is, and so I know both of their background stories, and I'm just like, "Oh, I couldn't have asked for 2 perfect people to be together." Nobody else knows probably the inner depths but me, so
Yeah, that's amazing. We did a money story with Katie who Katie gave all her numbers on the podcast.
It was
Very brave.
wow.
scary and humbling and yeah, I don't know. And also made
There's
me feel really just not smart when it comes to finances. So I
No,
need to
but
work on it.
I have clients that say that and I even correct them, because they maybe be working with me. They'll be like, oh, but we'll have a meeting. They'll say, hey, I'm not smart. I'm really bad with money, right? The first couple meetings. But then we get further on and they'll know their numbers and then they dig into their emergency fund. But then they have this, like, I gotta pay it back, which they didn't have before.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't stop them. I'm like, dude, let's reflect.
Figured it out.
Look at your mindset. You've
Yeah.
changed there. And you feel like you owe yourself back, which I love.
Yeah.
Or you're aware about their numbers, and I will be like, "You are good with numbers." Guys, stop
Yeah.
them. So, I think
Yeah.
change mindset on that and being open-minded is good too.
Yeah, I love that. And Katie's net worth was way higher than you were thinking,
See?
right? You're doing great.
Yeah. It was my house. It's all my
First
thank
of all,
God I
your
have this
network is
house.
your net worth too.
Right.
Your health is your wealth too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Katie looks fabulous also,
Uh,
guys. Anyway,
her cheekbones,
Uh,
like it's not even
I
fair.
know.
29 again. Oh my gosh, anybody
Am-
29?
Amazing.
I'll
Yeah.
take that 29. Let's stick with that. Let's
Yeah.
tell everybody that.
N- And Tina, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was great. We'd love to have you again if you're up for it because I know we're going to get a lot of questions coming out of
Like
this one.
live advice
Yeah.
online. Really cool.
Yes.
I
Yes.
feel
In.
I love this.
Yeah.
show back in the day where you tell me your love story and it's like, "Can I
Yes.
hear you some advice? What is that?"
We're in. This is like Susie Orman. Didn't she have her show?
I don't remember. I just remember growing up and listening to radios and they call in the radio and they're like, "This is my love story." And
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
with finance is what I'm saying, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
But that's
Listen,
like
I think that's a great idea, and I'm all in on that. So if you're up for it, we'll get
Real.
that set up. Yeah.
I know. Or we could do like send in your finance questions.
oh yeah, yeah.
Like
That it's spit
rapid
fire.
fire interview you.
That's probably a lot better. Well, hopefully I answered everybody's
So
question on layoffs.
Any other final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I just would say just be very open-minded and don't go down your tunnel rabbit hole of all these negative thoughts of your job, losing, social media, and misery loves company. So maybe don't keep
Yeah.
sulking in the oracle or whatever. So get yourself out there, take action, have your moment that you need to release all that emotional, whether it's journaling or talking to your friend, but you need to move on, like move on as soon as possible because you're not going to be forever jobless.
Right.
So It's inevitable.
Unless you get
And
stuck
also,
in it.
yeah, or see it as a silver lining, like I was sharing
Yeah.
about my other client, like it was it was actually a really great time to spend time with his family. Sometimes these things are blessings in disguise, and just enjoy it too. Kind of
Yeah.
find that
Yeah, I wouldn't mind some paid time off.
Yeah.
balance.
Doesn't sound
Yeah.
horrible.
I mean, I have one client who wanted to plan like a whole year off because they're empty nesters now.
Oh, good for them.
So
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I can plan that in your financial plan. See if you guys can still retire on time.
That sounds lovely. You sound magical in your job. Like that's the magic we all need.
In
Yeah.
front of the scenes and then behind the scenes,
My God.
my poor team behind behind I'm like, "Why isn't this done?"
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
your job
the
sounds scary. It sounds
yeah,
very busy. And I could see
yeah,
people, I mean, I could see myself like texting you a lot and just
yeah,
saying, wait, what do I do? What do I do?
yeah.
Oh,
All
yeah.
the time.
Yeah, and I definitely think, every client is different. Some people just like to know what to do, and then some want the why behind it, some want you to shop, others behind it. So it's really just understanding your client. But I do think our team does go way more above and beyond than
Yeah.
other teams. But at the same time, that's also why we have good retention and good referrals.
Yeah.
Like my referral rate is 90 something percent conversion to a client once they chat with us.
Wow.
That's really good.
That's awesome. Are you still accepting clients, and where can people find you? How can they reach out?
Yeah, I am accepting clients. Probably the best way to reach out would be maybe my website or my Zoom number, which is a text away. Is a lot easier to text me. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny. My work number is 972-663-7237. That's probably the easiest. Or email tina.t.hoang@nm.com is easy. And the website is similar to follow.
We'll post everything in the show notes so that
Yep.
everyone knows how to get a hold of you. And again, Tina, thank you so much. We're gonna hit you up. We're gonna do lives or schedule a follow-up. This is great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this podcast.